Have you ever wondered what would it be like to actually be inside of the Doodle Jump world? To answer that question, I remade Doodle Jump, but it is first person. Before I started on this project, I went and did some research about Doodle Jump. I found that there are 3 different platforms in the game. The green, normal platform, the brown, broken one that instantly breaks when you jump on it, and the blue one that moves back and forth. There is also a chance that a spring can spawn on a block and it will launch you way higher than before. Then I found that there are power-ups, like the propeller hat and the jetpack, that launch you upwards. So, the first step for this project was for me to open up Unity and create a cube for the ground and then a beam for the player. I went and stole some of my own code from another one of my projects and created a basic first-person controller. Now that we have the movement set up, I wanted to get into the Doodle Jump vibes before I kept working. I created this grid sprite and tiled it a whole bunch of times and then turned it into a skybox. This looks very similar to the real Doodle Jump background, and I love how it already feels like we're in the Doodle Jump world. The next step was to start making the platforms. I opened up Blockbench and I started working on the first platform. I just created a cylinder and I flattened it down and then I made it green. Then I added it into my game and I created some of the physics for it to make the player bounce. Then I wanted to see how it would be going from platform to platform, so I created this little obstacle course and I tried to jump from each platform just to get a feel for the movement and see how the game was going to play out. Then I got to work on the next platform. I decided to make the breakable block. I modeled one half of it and I painted it brown with some cracks in it. Then when I put it into the game, I duplicated the half of it and I made it look like a whole platform. So in the original game, when you step on one of these platforms, they have an animation for when they break. But in first person, everything is moving so fast and you wouldn't even be able to see the animation. The solution I came up with was to spawn this particle effect when you fall on the platform. I feel like this was a good way to show when you're falling through it, but not need to use an animation. Then, to finish off the platforms, I made the blue platform. For this one, I just reused my 3D model from the green platform and I turned it blue. Then I wrote some code for it to move in one direction, then a few seconds later, it will turn around and move the other direction. With the way I coded the movement for it, it will give it a random rotation at the start of the game and it will move in a random direction. By the way, I'm a small channel with just over 1,000 subscribers, and my goal is to get to 2,000 by the end of the year, so please consider subscribing. Now that we have all 3 platforms, it felt like something was missing. That something was the springs. I actually really struggled with modeling the springs because I didn't know how to make a spiral. My solution for this was to make one tube that spirals downwards, and then I stacked them on top of each other to make it look like it was one complete spring. Then I set up the mechanics to make the spring actually bounce you. Each platform will have around a 12% chance of spawning a spring, and if you jump on the platform that has a spring, you will be bounced around 3 times higher. Now that we have all the mechanics for the platforms, we needed a way to spawn them. The way I made the spawner is at the start of the game, it will create 9 original platforms, and it will go out in a random path. This way, the paths could intertwine and you could switch easily, and it gives it really similar vibes to the original game. I also made it so when you reach a certain height, the next 9 paths will spawn, and you'll be able to go on forever. At this point, there is no penalty for falling lower, so that was the next thing I wanted to create. Since in the original game, you died if you fell off of the screen, I needed a way to tell if you died in 3D. My solution was to create this blue abyss that moves upwards with you, but doesn't move back down. With this solution, if you try and fall lower than a certain point, you will fall into the abyss and the game will end. Finally, to top things off, I created this UI that shows your score. I got this free font for the text and I made the score based on your height. Then I created this game over screen that shows your score from your last run and lets you try again. Now, at this point in the game, it was feeling pretty complete, but we needed power-ups. So, I needed a 3D model for the jetpack, so I opened up my 3D model software and I created this model. I took inspiration from the original 2D jetpack for the shape. Then, I went and put it into my game, and to go along with the jetpack, I created these particle effects that look like flames shooting downwards. I put both the jetpacks and the particle system together in the game, and then I created some mechanics for it to actually launch you upwards, similar to how it works with the jetpack in the 2D game. I know other YouTubers like Hayden Johnson have already made this game in first person, but he only gave himself 3 hours to make it. I wanted to see what I could do if I actually gave myself enough time to make it well. I really like how it turned out, and I feel like it feels just like the 2D game. There's a link in the description if you want to go try it out for yourself. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, please consider subscribing, or if you have any ideas for a video, go leave it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching.